we can put up on the screens. But you better describe it, because that's the colouring there. That's the colour.
Oh,
see the photo?
dear.
How do you describe that?
That is a hot mess of disgustingness. That literally, it looks like fungus sort of encrusted eggs.
Yeah.
It looks like
Beetle eggs.
it is beetle eggs.
Yeah. Now,
Insect shells boiled in ammonia or sodium carbonate solution. And aluminium salt, oh my gosh, of carminic acid is the colouring agent in Carmine.
That's it.
It makes ice cream, yogurt, sweets, and fruit drinks red. Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts, Steve and Jeff. G'day, mate.
how are you today?
Mate, not bad.
Good.
I've got to ask,
Yeah.
actually, keeping in with the Australiana theme that we
Yeah.
often have, and we've got some more coming up later in the show, but wrap your laughing gear around this one,
Oh,
Steve.
no.
So I'm
It
interested
is.
to know what people put in their mouth.
Yes.
Now, before you jump to any conclusions, often it's foul, and I'm not talking about chicken, right? So what we're about to talk about today
Yeah.
is the things that you are eating every day and you probably have no idea how good or bad they are, where they come from, and why the heck we're eating them. Now, it's not all bad.
No, not all bad at all.
A lot of people are jumping at shadows. In fact, we've had a little bit of the opposite reaction as well too,
Yep.
Steve-O.
Yep.
So anyway, we'll get into it. There's a lot to cover. But Steve-O, where do you want to start in terms of weird, wonderful, wacky, horrible, terrible, disgusting, let me start with a little story.
Okay.
Natural ain't natural. I feel like saying, does the catch, what? Does the curtains match the drapes? No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is oils ain't oils. Now, what I mean by that is that propylene glycol, Steve-O. Interesting.
Yeah,
We were
it is
speaking about this
interesting.
yesterday. Now, in Australia, and we've spoken about it, I think, before in the past as well, too, is that when you've got natural flavours, in Australia, natural flavours also means that you can have a very unnatural compound in there called propylene glycol, or PG. Steve, we were talking about this yesterday. Do you want to enlighten the people on our conversation?
Sure. Propylene glycol is
And even what we were sort of talking about in terms of the terms of what we're talking about, because this is kind of part of the DNA of why we're doing this podcast.
Exactly. Look, propylene glycol is a chemical in all sorts of things. It's in foods, it's in dyes, it's in colourings, and it's in flavourings. Okay. Now, the interesting thing about propylene glycol is it's a synthetic chemical. And for most people, it's okay. It doesn't do any harm in the low doses and that sort of thing. But in some people, they can react to it quite badly because it is a synthetic chemical. It's not a chemical that you normally find in your diet, a healthy diet. But what they're doing is they're adding it to colorants now, and you can still label that colorant as being natural.
So, yeah, interesting, isn't it, Steve, with
Yeah, it is.
propylene glycol? So just tell the story we sort of, yesterday about the whole context of what we're talking about.
Well, it is, look, if you can get loads and loads of flavourings, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't worry about synthetics or naturals or whatever, you can get all sorts of flavourings and colourings, and we're going to talk a lot about them today.
Yeah, we are.
So is that an additive? Now, the tricky thing is getting natural ones without that. It limits you dramatically and puts the price up.
Those two things, Steve,
Yep.
massive.
Yep.
And the problem is as well, too, we're even working with our food techs at the moment, and,
Yeah.
they're complaining to me because they go, there's a library of flavours
Yeah.
and colours and all these sort of things out there. And look, and they're going, but it's benign and it's been proven to be safe. No, it's not, because we look behind that a little bit further. And unfortunately, we have to go out and have our flavours custom made, because even though we could buy natural off the shelf,
Yep.
natural ain't natural,
No.
and not our standard of natural.
No.
So it's like, I think I was saying to you before yesterday, it's like the government saying, you know what, you can have a mistress on the side and we'll keep it from your wife, and you can go home and by law you can say, no, I don't have a mistress.
Oh, what's
it's
that?
like, do you have the number? That's,
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the...
5555.
Yeah, okay, good.
But it's like, is it still cheating? Yeah, it is. And is it potentially dangerous? We believe so. So our standard is not
It can be.
based on,
Yeah.
So look, Steve, so propylene glycol and natural ain't natural. And this is a problem. When you're looking at your labels, you're going to see natural flavour. So this
Yes.
comes down to, and look, most companies won't give a rat's ass.
Yes.
Here's another Australian one. Won't give a rat's because it's a hassle. It's more expensive. It limits your offerings because then you have to go out and custom make everything.
Yeah.
But what does propylene glycol do?
Sure. Firstly, it can cause allergic reactions.
Right.
That's the most common thing it does. And so people can be just highly sensitive to it because it's not a chemical found in nature. And so it can cause, very rare, but it can cause allergies. So if you're swallowing it, cause gastric ulceration and gastric inflammation. It can contact your skin and cause ulceration on your skin or redness and that sort of thing. So there's the first thing. The second thing is it can have more sinister effects in causing behavioural disorders, particularly in children. Right. Children are particularly susceptible to this. And I don't know why. There's one reason I suspect, but it may not be true, but kids can't make as much taurine as adults can. And taurine is an essential sulfur-based amino acid.
Detox.
Yeah, for detoxification. So I have a feeling that's why a lot of children are more sensitive to things and they kind of, quote, grow out of it.
And this is where you talk about the red cordials and all the rest of it, right? It's their body's ability to process it and deal with it.
Yeah.
So, Steve, what is propylene glycol? How do they make it? Do you I mean, obviously it's you're a chemist, right?
Yeah. It's synthetically made in the lab.
Yep.
And it's just a simple chemical process.
Yep.
So it's really cheap and easy to make. There's no reason to make it. It's generally regarded as safe in most people, but it's not all people.
No.
And this is where the problem comes. I mean, all it takes is someone to react to something quite badly, and that's one too many.
Yep. So as far as we're concerned, it's not something that we consider to be appropriate. It's not something that you should be freaking out about, but in terms of as far as a standard, it's something that we avoid. And you and I were talking about this yesterday, Steve, in terms of even with regards to the R&D team as well too. I said, if I won't give it to my 8-year-old or my 80-year-old, which is my mum, right? So if I won't give it to my well, then I'm not putting it into our products.
Yeah.
So
and that's exactly what you said on the phone.
That's the litmus test.
It is true. And you've got to remember with all our products, you want them to be free of all that stuff because you can freely recommend them without, the form of potentially causing harm. As I said, for most people, they're probably having propylene glycol in stuff now, but it's just that it builds up. It can cause all sorts of problems.
And look, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm probably eating synthetics and stuff all the time that you're probably not even aware of, right? I mean, unless you're an absolute, you're just living out in the farms, you're eating everything fresh and locally grown and all the rest of it, But the thing is, I just consider this to be another chip away at the wall,
It is.
And the thing is if you got too many chips, water's a big one for me as well too, in terms of aluminium and that sort of stuff. I don't want it.
Yep.
I make sure that I get sources that don't have, chlorine or aluminium in it because I just don't believe it should be there. Now, I understand if you don't put aluminium and chlorine in the water supply, you're going to have a problem with water. We'd have to go back to rain tanks. And then people are saying, oh, well, what about molds? And that's true. Yeah. And that's true, right?
True.
But, it's
fascinating story.
There is. Anyway.
But there are other colorants and other additives you've got to be careful of.
We've done some of these colorants before, but I think it's time for a refresher.
I've got some new ones.
Yellow Lake. That's an interesting one. It should be called yellow cake. And for people that don't understand, yellow cake is actually what they use to make nuclear weapons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I consider it to be as radioactive as that. And it's funny. Some things, fine. Yep. So I'm not sure who was passing these. Yeah, that one's fine. We're in the middle of a caffeine review. In fact, Steve, I want to do a podcast on what's happening in Australia around caffeine and caffeinated products because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And look, I think the legislation is always designed to try and help and prevent people. But sometimes I look at these decisions, and especially when nature comes into it, and that's gone out the window.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But anyway, tell me about. Okay, you go. What do you?
I've got one that stands above. I've got bad, good, and I've got one that's just frankly weird.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the weird one.
Okay.
But I'll ask you a question, and I haven't asked this without notice.
Okay.
How many additives are approved in Australia? And I'll give you a multiple choice here.
Oh.
Is there
approved
right. for use in Australia?
Additives.
Yep. Additives.
What do you mean by additives? Like just
colorants, preservatives, those sorts of things. It's color and preservatives, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Is there 37, 84, or over 300?
Well, because you're a bit of a shock jock, Steve, I'm going to go for the last one.
There's more than 300.
Wow.
So I've only picked a few today.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick 300.
And are these the ones that are most used or the most bizarre?
They are both. I picked the yellow, late yellow ones I left off because we did it last time, and people know that's a bad one.
And look, some of those colorings, go and have a look at them. Maybe jump back to our other podcast, Matt. You'll have to put down the screen, and we'll put it in the show notes as well too, based on additives and flavour and all the rest of it. But seriously, go and have a look at Yellow Lake. It's and if you turn over a pack and you see something with Yellow Lake, run. But anyway, go.
Run. The first one's a weird one. It's E120, so it's a very, very common one.
The numbers. I love the numbers. All right, so because the numbers are like, what the frig is it? Is it good? Is it bad?
Well, I'll call it cochineal or Carmine, but cochineal. Now,
cochineal.
Yeah.
Carmine. Is that what color? What color is that?
It's like a reddy color. In fact, there's some right in front of you in these candies.
Candies for our American friends, lollies for our English, Australian, New Zealand friends. So these are hard-shelled chocolate buttons. I don't know. I don't want to use any brand names, but in New Zealand they're called Little Stones, but I'm not going to mention the name.
I'm going to shock you because they look kind of artificial to you, don't they?
They do.
They're classified as natural colorants. So
really,
and it's got the cochineal in it. So
cochineal.
Yeah,
cochineal.
Or you can wash it with acid and turn it into carmine and bleach and aluminium.
Bleach is good for you.
And ammonia. That's the chemical process to get carmine.
They're great for your gut.
Yeah, no problem at all. I can't see an issue with them at all. But apart from that one, there's beta-carotene, anthocyanidin.
Okay, that would be a synthetic beta-carotene too, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Which we know is not real great.
Not great.
In fact, really quite very bad.
Yeah, I would, but as far as color, I've got some worse ones than that one.
Okay.
It's also got anthocyanidin, which is natural.
Well, that's an antioxidant.
Yep,
pro-anthocyanidins are typically that's a good thing.
Yep.
But is that to stop it from turning?
No, that's just classified as a color.
Oh, so that would be purples. That would be red purple colors.
And look at the green ones.
Yep,
that's chlorophyll. That's straight from plants.
Well, there you go. That's good.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Steve, these are health. These are health foods.
What do you think? I'm going to let you guess this one. What do you think the orange and yellow ones are colored with?
Orange and yellow.
Yeah, one of the colors in there.
Don't say Yellow Lake.
No.
Oh,
I'm going to say something that we're doing a podcast on in about a week.
I don't know.
Turmeric.
Oh, really? So these are
naturally coloured flavours.
They sound amazing, Steve. Right? It's health food.
It's health food. It's health food. Now, I did mention the cochineal. Now,
cochineal.
We better explain what that is. It's actually a type of beetle. Now, I've got a photo here that we can put up on the screens, but you better describe it because that's the colouring there. That's the colour.
Oh,
see the photo? Dear. How do you describe that?
That is a hot mess of disgustingness. that literally it looks like fungus sort of encrusted eggs.
Yeah.
It looks like.
Beetle eggs.
It is beetle eggs.
Yeah. Now,
insect shells boiled in ammonia or sodium carbonate solution. And aluminium salt, oh my gosh, of carminic acid is the colouring agent in carmine. It makes ice cream, yogurt, sweets, and fruit drinks red.
Yep.
That is just revolting. It really is.
I don't know how to describe that.
So is that the only bad one, or were these other ones natural? Because I mean, like turmeric, I'm thinking that's great, and I mean, like you've got chloroform.
Yeah. Chlorophyll.
You got chloroform. You got chlorophyll. I mean, like that's great, but that. So this is when you hear the movie stars go to their trailer, go, take out the brown ones.
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
Have you heard that? I want all of this.
Yes.
I want all of the candies, but take out the brown ones.
Yep.
Because it's the brown ones, right?
Well, no, it's actually the red ones.
It's the red ones.
Yeah. The brown ones
of course.
Well, the brown ones have the red in it. Brown is just all the colours mixed together. So isn't that funny? But that's called natural colouring. Does that sound super duper? Well, I don't know what you think. I mean,
well, it is a natural colour, but then they put it through basically a radioactive wash.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, and again, someone said to me, "Oh, is it natural?" I said, "Well, blimmin' funnel web spider venom's natural. It's not particularly good for you, but and this is the thing, right? We think nature is always the really good for you. Everything,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, strychnine is strychnine natural, Steve. I mean, arsenic, and these kill you.
Plenty of natural things.
Okay, that's a bit disappointing.
A little bit disappointing, but that's what you're eating if you're having something red. Now you got to remember, it's in yogurt, it's in healthy foods too.
Yeah.
So this is in all sorts of red things.
Is it the predominant? Do we know? Do you know if it's the predominantly
Very,
used?
very common.
Really?
It's so cheap to make, so cheap to use.
So what about red cordial, which is a cliche, right?
Yeah.
You know, give them red cordial and puppies, and
Some of the red cordials do have this in it.
yeah, right.
Yeah, and you know what?
And propylene glycol, probably.
Oh, but also they have sodium benzoate, and I haven't got to that one yet. But that'll scare the heck out of you.
Well, that sounds bad, but
Yeah.
and again, just because it sounds bad doesn't mean it is bad. I mean, there's we said it before. Proanthocyanidins. Well, that's this big, long, scary word. I don't know what it's actually a very powerful antioxidant from grape.
Brilliant,
from grapeseed.
Oh, I've got some numbers that'll scare you, and then I'll tell you they're good for you.
Okay.
Later.
I love it.
Second part.
Yep.
But that's about
Sivo.
Yes.
Shameless flog time.
Let's do it.
It's called Max Lift.
It is called Max Live.
And are you sipping on it right now?
I'm sipping on it right now. There was some in the kitchen. I drank
So
it.
this is something when we're talking to CrossFitters, Steve. We're at one of the events, and they were consistently combining a lot of amino acids to help with their strength. And we said to them, "Hey, look, if we combined all these for you, would that be helpful?" And like, and throw some electrolytes in.
Yeah.
And we're like, so we got together, Steve. We had a look at it, and we went, you know what? This is a great product for people who are focused on increasing their strength gains. They want their hydration. They don't want any caffeine because they're training either in the evening or that they're going to be training throughout the day. So it's good for sports people, good for boxers and fighters, because a lot of a lot of caffeine and stuff like that is not good for some of those people if their heart rate's already getting up there.
Correct,
So this is designed for people who want to maximize their strength. It's not a pump formula, even if it does have some nitric oxide compounds in there. It's designed to support blood flow, but without becoming a debilitating pump, as we say. So there's what we call smart nitric oxide support.
Absolutely. That's L-citrulline, and it's got the beta-alanine to buff the acid.
A little bit of pomegranate and
Sandra berry.
and some Sandra in there, which is state dependent, which is I know a bit different, but it's cool. It's cool. It's a bit
really
different.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And I love it. It's got the electrolytes in there, the 4 cation electrons, the 4 important ones. So hydration.
Helps with the Krebs cycle, Steve-O.
And my favorite, alpha GPC.
Yeah. Which is just an amazing compound and excellent for lifters. But yeah, slightly different. So who would we recommend this product to? Anybody who wants to lift, anybody who's focused on maxing out their strength gains, anybody who doesn't want a stimulus. You're training at gym in the evening and you're finding your adrenals are overtaxed and you want to sleep, but still want a quality pre-workout that's properly dosed.
And it's good for you. No artificial anything or flavors.
Well, some of the stuff that you found in there as well too, like it was gardenia for the colouring and other things. That
hibiscus is one of the colouring.
Hibiscus. So yeah. Anyway, guys, have a look at it. If you're into CrossFit, you're into any form of sport, you're over the stim highs and you're looking for something that's going to support your strength gains, consider having a look at that product.
Absolutely.
It's called Max Lift. Available in all specialty retailers. Now.
Tastes great too. Cool. I've got this one too. This is another great colour for you if you're into the orange and yellow colours.
Yep.
Erythrosine, which is E127. Very, very common.
Erythrosine from grapes? No. What's erythrosines from?
Well, it's a synthetic chemical.
Oh, okay.
And it's got a couple of side effects. These are this is listed from a paper published in May 19. And you're going to love this. This is the side effects. Different studies suggest the induction of chromosome aberrations and an increase in the incidence of thyroid tumours by erythrosine consumption.
What?
And there's 3 reference papers there. So they've actually found this a number of times, but they go on to say that apart from thyroid cancer, it's relatively inert.
We lived in a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world, except for Lola. That's all I can say, mate, because seriously, I'm just going, how is it that these things are allowed?
Oh,
but yet natural compounds are being, at the moment, they're straining out caffeine, like they're talking. Now,
Well, I've got some good news.
I just get so frustrated.
I've got good news for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so
I like good news.
The good news is that it's heavily restricted, but it's not. It's found in things like candy cherries, cocktail cherries. So it's that richy red colour.
Those disgusting
syrups,
seaweed,
cocktails.
Red and green cherry. I don't see them much anymore.
It's a weird thing.
You know those things. As a kid, I used to hunt those things out, man. I used to eat them by the spoonful.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
And it's in popsicles, cakes, decorating gels, sports drinks, cream, biscuits, gels, candies, and other condiments.
Also hardly found then.
No, but here's the good news. In Australia, it's only permitted in one type of cherry. I don't think I should give the brand name around.
No, don't give the brand name. But what do you mean one type of cherry? You mean those glazed cherries?
Yes, glazed cherries. It's only found in one type of cherry. What they have summarised here. So anyway, they've got these cherries, but what they summarise is that, and I'm quoting here from the paper, as only a small number of people eat this product, 0.3 of the population, the estimate for the 95th percentile consumers should be discounted. So in other words, it's beyond the 95th. So it's less than 5%. Don't worry about it because it's only 0.3% of the people that eat this carcinogen.
Well, that shouldn't stop this company from making money. If a few peasants die, don't worry about
That's
it.
exactly
we'll be
what they're
sucking down our
saying.
steaks, flying our private jets.
It's only in these cherries in Australia and New Zealand. Because it's so bad, Australia's restricted it. But just the one, why? It's like, is that the dumbest decision?
No.
It's like,
It's Marxism, mate. Look, kill a few of the peasants. It doesn't matter. Weed them out slowly.
well, these particular cherries in a jar, this is not natural cherries, by the way. You know, they haven't got any of this stuff in it.
Yeah, we can't have mass casualties, but look, a few deaths here and there.
So I'm going to give this one out of my terrible scale, which terrible is 1, 5 is, inert, and 1 is...
And 10.
10 is really bad.
It went to 1 to 5 to 1 again. No. So 1 is bad. 1 is death.
We'll make 1 death.
Yep.
5 does nothing either way.
Either way. And 10 is really good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there are additives that are in the higher scale.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I've got to get to those.
Oh, yeah.
So 1, I want to scale 1.
okay.
1 as being really good. Or we'll make it 1 really bad.
1's really bad,
Bad.
Steve.
It's the lowest number.
Yeah, if you got 1 out of 10 on your test, you'd be like,
Yeah.
you're out of here.
You're out of here. 5 is neutral.
Yeah, whatever.
Either way.
That's a C.
And 10 is something you kind of should chase.
Yeah.
As an additive.
Yes.
You know, we could crap on about other things, but like turmeric in there, I would rate that a 10.
Sure, but then you're also getting the sugar, Steve. I mean, we're just talking about the outside, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. But we joke when they're health food, by the way, please, if anyone's listening.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a 1. Erythrosines. Keep an eye out for 127. Don't.
127. So it's an E number 127?
Yep.
Bad.
Real bad.
Very bad. Okay.
There's only one that I've found that's worse. That's actually listed of 4 numbers.
Well, let's keep that one to the end.
Oh, okay.
So that way you have to listen and you have to go through our ads and everything, right? That's
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And if you're skipping to the end,
and this one is incredible.
We will find you.
It is incredibly common.
Pardon?
Oh,
Sorry.
It's threatening
I was just doing Liam Neeson then.
Yeah.
So,
and this one is found in all sorts of foods that I bet most people are eating daily.
Okay. What is it?
I can't tell you. It's the real bad one.
Oh, that's the
Save it
bad
to
one.
the end.
Okay. Well, what's the next one?
Next one.
Okay, so everyone's eating that one and we're going to leave it to the end. All right.
Yeah.
So give me the next one.
Have you ever eaten a bag of Doritos or Twisties or anything?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, you've eaten this one.
Oh, is this? Yes. Is this a petrochemical?
Oh, no, actually.
Oh,
it's a horrendous salt called MSG, monosodium glutamate, number 621.
621,
Yeah.
my old favourites. Actually, this is probably one of the initial things that got me onto this. Now, what's funny about Flavour Enhancer 621 is that if I eat it, it makes my chest itch.
It's funny you should say that.
Because I don't know what it is. And immediately I can tell if something's got MSG in it because my chest itch. I used to get it from Chinese.
Yeah.
Eating Chinese takeaway. Because back in the 90s, they used to add it to food back then. I don't know if they still do. Of
course they do.
Do they?
Yeah, of course they do.
There you go.
It's allowed to be. It's on the label. Look for 621. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll give you this is from a medical study published 2019, a review of the alleged health hazards of MSG or monosodium glutamate, it's the full name.
Yeah.
And this is a big one. It's a bit wordy. MSG consumption was associated with morphological alterations of the heart tissue.
Well, that sounds good.
Yep. As well as
What does that mean?
It means morphological means physical.
Yeah.
Changes of the heart. It physically changes your heart.
Wow.
But it gets worse.
It gets worse.
As well as changes in the heart rhythm.
Yeah.
And hepatotoxic effects, so liver toxic effects with fibrosis.
That's where we get the name hepatitis from. Yep.
And it gets even worse.
And fibrosis.
Neoplastic changes.
Neoplastic, so cancerous.
Cancerous.
Wow.
Yep. And it's also associated with diabetes, obesity, neurotoxicity, brain toxicity, modified behavioral and psychological alterations such as increased aggressiveness, a decreased locomotor activity, and loss of muscle strength. How are you going for that one?
Oh, my gosh. I knew it was bad. I actually didn't know it had all that.
And it can cause allergies and itching.
But it's still legal.
Well, they're legal. Yeah, of course it is. MSG, it's everywhere.
Oh my gosh, Steve.
I
mean, I knew it was bad, but literally I'm like going, I had no idea it was that bad. What percent, I mean, I don't know, you wouldn't have these figures, but what would be interesting to know is what percentage of the population consumes MSG every day or every week?
Oh,
it would be interesting. So tell me what it's in. Tell me don't tell me the brand names, but tell me the types of food. I mean, I mentioned, certain cuisine, and that's not fair because, I mean, it could be in French food, it could be in whatever, right? It doesn't matter. But there's natural flavor enhancer, and then there's this.
Yes.
So what types of foods typically? You said chips, like and Doritos,
savory foods, salty foods, umami foods. So any of those sort of like strong pastes that you use to flavour up things, like stir fries and those sort of things, you'll find it in there because it is a beautiful salty umami taste.
Yeah.
It's really rich.
Yeah.
Apart from the cancer, it's not. It's good. I'm sure it's fine.
Nice one, Steve. Nice one.
Yeah.
So
it's in chips and all sorts of I won't mention the brand name, but cheesy things
cheesy round cheesy things.
Yes,
so
that's
just
right.
Go and have a look at your chip aisle and anything that's savoury and mass produced, like it's not an artisan or a. You probably, and look, I'm not saying that it's not in the artisan ones as well too, but you're looking at flavour enhancer 621.
621.
Mono sodium glutamate.
Yep, or 621.
So have a look at that one there. So Steve, how do they make it? Do you know?
Yeah, you just get glutamine, which is the amino acid that we all should eat, and everything's
absolutely
fine, no problem.
Yep, and then they frankenfood it.
They frankenfood it, yeah. They take the acid off it, the H+, which is a normal, because glutamic acid is fine too to have.
Yeah.
And they swap the acid with the sodium. Yeah. So it's called mono, one sodium.
Yeah. It's alive.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you can just imagine it, a black and white movie with the villagers, us out the front.
And monosodium glutamate stimulates the receptors in the brain that it allows calcium to flood into your neurons, which causes the hyperneurotoxicity.
Wow.
Oh, it's really bad stuff.
So on a scale of 1 to 10,
it's a 1.
I'm giving that a -1. I'm giving that a -10, Steve. That's probably one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Well, I've skipped one that's even I think
we'll
worse.
Come back to that. All right, we'll leave that one to the end.
Don't go too negative at this stage.
All right. Well, okay. Don't fire off all my shots, right? Okay. Well, I'm really interested to know what that one is. Okay, next.
I've got another one that is another real serious one for me because it's everywhere and it's been in our foods for years and it's still in our foods, and it's the classic trans fats.
Trans fats. Yes. Interesting, Steve. And I think we have mentioned this on just a recent podcast. I know that trans fats are found a lot in, again, these salty little snacks that we enjoy eating, right? Is that where they're most predominant?
Well, no, mainly in biscuits and that. That's where most people consume these fats.
Right. Okay. So tell me, how do they? Is it part of the cooking process, or do they add them to it? Well,
they add them to it because you got to remember, if you add vegetable oil to a biscuit or something, and then you heat the biscuit by cooking it, obviously. Unsaturated fats, like with double bonds between the carbons, is unstable and it can cause free radicals.
Yeah.
So you don't want to cook vegetable oil too much. But if you pump it full of hydrogen and bubble hydrogen through the vegetable oil, it saturates the fats, but it's still a vegetable oil.
So that's a hydrogenated.
Correct. And it stabilizes. Now, there's a side effect where with that sort of heating and process, it twists the fats and you get this trans fat. Because trans in a chemistry means one goes out this side, one goes out that side. Cis means the same side.
Right.
Trans means the opposite side. So it twists the molecule.
Like a transistor versus, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where you get that process. Now, when you bake the goods, the fat's stable because it's full of hydrogens already, and it doesn't go off. So you can add it to things like margarine, which sits in a tub. And that's why margarine is solid. Yeah, right. Because vegetable oils shouldn't be solid at room temperature. No. And margarine is.
So, and this is a big one.
Yeah.
So trans fats and hydrogenated vegetable oil, same thing.
Well, they can now hydrogenate the vegetable oil and reduce the trans fat in it, but they don't eliminate it.
Right. And then you've got just straight vegetable oil. Yeah. So if you're looking at your label, if you see vegetable oil, okay. Yeah. So long as it's not hydrogenated vegetable oil or trans fats. Now, are they listing the trans fats on the labels?
No, they don't. They don't list the amount of trans fats unless it's got 0, and I've seen that once. But you got to remember that trans fats were just absolutely everywhere. And it was only 15 years ago they thought, oh, these are bad. Because you've got to remember, there was a push to get everyone off butter and get them onto margarine.
Which is crazy.
Oh, terrible idea. And in fact, in this paper that I was reading, it says various margarine-containing trans fats were marketed as being healthy because of the absence of cholesterol, suggesting the use of margarine instead of butter. Now, that's a paper published. I'll get to the reference later. But that's what was told to everyone.
Yeah.
Because there is no cholesterol in margarine. Cholesterol is made in livers. There's no livers in vegetables. So, it just does it. But so that's how it was marketed. And then, of course, they add things like beta-sitosterol, which blocks the absorption of cholesterol. And they add that to margarines.
Now, I know that was really... Steve, what is because I remember still seeing the ads going, oh, look, cholesterol because it's got the beta-sterol...
Yeah, beta-sitosterols.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
So what is that?
Okay. A sterol is just a natural type of chemical.
Yep. But what is the beta?
Oh, beta is this, is alpha, beta, delta types. So the beta one is the more selective for the receptors, for the cholesterol receptors, because the human body needs cholesterol, so it tries to digest it through your food. This blocks that absorption.
Is it like the old
the receptor?
Is it like the old Xenical and all the rest of it, where you're throwing the good out with the bad?
It is like that. Yeah.
Because I see often sometimes there's a top line, and then everybody goes cholesterol bad. But hang on, what about LDL?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, LDL's the considered bad one, but the HDL's the considered good one, and that's very good for you.
Yes, sorry, HDL, LDL. So you've got the low density and then the high density. But that's right, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
You are, and of course your body needs cholesterol. I don't know why people have
but it's the same as fats as well too.
Yeah.
Like you go, oh, well, fats is bad. We need to get rid of that. Vitamin E.
Yeah, D.
Vitamin D.
A.
K.
Yeah, K.
All that. So what happens?
Well, what happens is, of course, if you don't
absorb... As my 8-year-old likes to say, weapons.
Yeah,
what happens
is if you don't absorb the cholesterol, your body has to make it in your liver, and you might go, oh, so what? The liver only makes LDL cholesterol.
Wow. Yeah. There you go.
Because the liver makes LDL cholesterol to transport it to the tissues, and then the HDL picks it up. And if you've got an imbalance of that because you're not exercising or whatever, then it's problematic. But apart from that, it's totally fine.
I don't watch TV, so I don't know, but are there ads out there still on TV promoting this, cholesterol blocking...
I have seen them, yeah.
They're still going.
Block cholesterol by 9% or lower it by 9%. And I don't know why that's a good thing.
Because you know why it's a good thing. Because the average Joe six-pack out there hears that cholesterol bad, cholesterol heart attack, cholesterol blocking, not butter.
Yes.
I can't believe it's not butter.
I remember those ads.
Yeah.
Was that with Fabio?
Yeah, and he got pigeonholed. Sorry, that's terrible. Sorry, Fabio, if you're listening. I'm not meaning to have a joke at your expense. If you're not sure, you got hit by a pigeon while on a roller coaster, broke his nose.
That's right, I remember
that beautiful face.
Was that on Gold? Was that on the Gold Coast?
Yeah. He was so good looking it was annoying.
Yeah.
He was on the front of all the Mills and Boons that I used to read.
He had the hair too. He used to read.
Yeah, well, he used to.
Fabio had the shirt open and the big chest.
Yes.
Look like my chest, actually, really buff.
No, I didn't see.
No, it didn't, did it?
But anyway, yes, poor Fabio.
Yep.
But yes.
Yep.
We went down a tangent then.
Terrible.
So that's not good.
Yep, I know, it's terrible. Now, there's a few other bad things about trans fats. But we all know it stuffs your heart up, but it also has adverse effects on the brain and nervous system. And it stuffs up the cell-to-cell communications within the body.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really staggering how bad it is for you.
Of all the ones that we've mentioned so far, Steve, I've forgotten to ask you, how much are we consuming, and are we consuming enough that it's actually documentedly bad? Like, in other words, so for example, you could say, hey, if you take, I'm going to use one of these things here, a tiny little, pebble sort of size, but you need to eat the bowl for it to actually have an acute reaction. But there's chronic as well too, right? So the chronic builds up over time. And, could be doing doing you damage. And acute could be if you eat that whole thing. Well, most people aren't going to eat that whole bowl of lollies. Well, actually, I don't know.
Some people might.
But you know what I'm saying? So in terms of the level, do we know how much people are consuming these things, and do we know if it's falling into the area of acute or chronic disease states?
It is, and then the paper concludes by saying there's now growing evidence the possible role of trans fats in the development of Alzheimer's disease and cognitive decline with age.
Wow.
So it's starting to screw with people's brains where it's affecting the rates of Alzheimer's.
Is Alzheimer's and other brain conditions on the rise, Steve?
Yes. Now, they're on the rise for two reasons. Firstly, our lifestyle, but secondly, we are living longer.
Yeah.
But thirdly,
well, and that's what a lot of people might argue. Oh, well, hang on.
Yeah.
We used to die when we were in our 40s. Now we're living up until our 80s and 90s now.
yeah. Well, we are getting into a younger age too.
Right.
Now, Alzheimer's is one of those ones where you don't need a PET scan to diagnose or MRIs or anything. You can, but you can determine someone's cognitive decline by the environment or how they're acting.
Yeah.
So it could have been diagnosed 50 years ago.
Right.
Yet, phenylketonuria may not have, which is a genetic disorder. So,
That's the warnings that it's got on the side of the food may contain phenyl nutrients. Like,
You know what I mean?
Which is phenylalanine, isn't it?
Yeah, phenylalanin's amino acid that every 99 out of 100 people can.
No problem.
No, well, it's good for you.
Yeah.
But there's less than 1% that have PKU, we'll call it, and that stops you metabolizing.
But yet we need a warning for that. But yet for the people eating those glazed cherries, we don't care about them.
No, I don't care about them.
It's kind of funny,
They're
right?
the peasants, yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, but you see that when because phenylalanine is a part of aspartame.
Isn't it a neurotransmitter as well?
Yeah, it is. Phenylalanine is actually, as I said, it's good for you and I. It gets transferred into tyrosine, which gets into norepinephrine and down that pathway, which is good, dopamine pathway.
Yeah.
But good.
Okay.
But phenylalanine, if you can't metabolize it, you're missing that gene.
Yeah.
Then it'll build up and you become toxic and you die.
Wow.
Yeah, simple as that.
So 1% of the population?
Oh, less than 1%.
I was going to say.
0.0 something. It's really low.
Right.
But they screen at birth for that. That's one of the ones. But that's why you see it on the side of a diet can. If you see it on the side of a diet can, it's got aspartame because aspartame is made from phenylalanine. So don't drink it anyway.
No, I was going to say, I used to see it years ago. I haven't actually seen it for a while.
I think it's, I don't see many. I don't
drink diet soft drink. So
I'll have to look at that. No. That'd be interesting. But
I choose the high fructose corn syrup one instead. I'm kidding.
Oh, that's the next one.
Is it really?
Look at that.
What a segue.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, my God.
Steve-O, eh? We've got this mental connection happening. It's like, we date each other's wives while I date yours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of funny. No, I'm kidding.
Goes at night.
Did you know that someone wrote in getting upset that I was making jokes at your wife's expense?
Really?
I don't know.
Beck likes it.
I know.
So someone's getting offended on behalf of somebody else.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
And it is funny.
I'm going to sound a bit repetitive, but I have to give trans fats a 1.
One?
It's bad. Well, it's terrible. There's nothing good about it.
So far we've rated 3 products and they've all got 1s.
All right, I'll pick my game up for the next one.
Right.
I will.
So what are we doing? High fructose
corn syrup.
So my understanding, obviously, that typically it's grown from corn, and it could be GMO corn. And again, that's a whole nother thing that we probably need to talk about, Steve-O. Because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, GMO is going to save the world," and I have a problem with that messaging as well too. But again, for another day. But high fructose corn syrup. Who invented it? What does it do? I mean, we know that it's effectively a sugar substitute.
Yep.
It's really funny. I'm watching this show on is it Prime TV. I was saying to you about Nazi hunters. And they actually had a whole episode how these Nazis living in America as part of Operation Paperclip, which is kind of funny, which is true. But the whole story is a fantasy. Oh. But they were going to take over the world basically by putting additives into foods.
Oh, yes.
And they talked about this corn syrup and they had ads and all the rest of it. This corn syrup's great and all the rest of it. Yeah, it was hilarious. I mean, anyway, it was pretty brutal. So if you've got a weak stomach, don't watch the show. But
I'm going to get emails over this one. I'm going to tell you the benefits of corn syrup.
Ooh.
The fructose benefits. And fructose has a very low GI of 20.
Right.
Low GI.
Yeah.
Okay. It's very sweet, so you need less of it. Okay? It's very cheap. Mm-hmm. And it's from a natural plant.
You can't make me take it, Steve. You can't. I don't care how you dress it up.
Spin it?
Yeah, mate. And that's what marketing companies do. But it reminds me of the same kind of spin, right?
Yeah,
Spin City.
Does. Oh, I've just spun this beautifully.
But no, Steve. Okay, tell us the truth.
I'll give you some data.
You want the truth?
Yes, you can have the truth. Okay. This is from a paper titled, and this will tell you the whole scenario. High fructose corn syrup induces metabolic dysregulation and altered dopamine signaling in the absence of obesity. So even if you're not obese, screws with your brain, makes you metabolically obese and diabetic.
How?
Okay. What it does is fructose, when it goes in the body, it doesn't get digested very quickly because it's got a low GI. And everyone thinks, ooh, low GI, which is crap, by the way. If you're basing foods off GI, don't do it. Fructose is 20, carrots are 97.
Right, but what's the glycemic load?
That's what we should be looking at. Fructose is through the roof.
Right.
It's all sugar.
Sure.
And the fructose is really bad because it stimulates the liver to make dangerous fats, and that blocks your cells and receptors up.
Which fats?
Oh, it makes palmatic acid.
Palmatic acid.
Yes.
You know what? I knew you were going to say that, and I couldn't remember the name of it. Tell us about that really quick.
A long-chain saturated fatty acid, which is evil.
Evil.
And it's made from certain carbohydrates that you eat excessively because the body has to get rid of them. Now, fructose is difficult to metabolize because it's got a low GI. It takes a while to break down. And therefore, it gets turned into all these fats and it clogs up your system. But also, it's addictive. It has a physiological addiction in your brain.
So do you remember when you were fighting in Vietnam, Steve?
Yeah. 1969,
But there was a compound that they used called Agent Orange. Now, do you remember that?
Yes.
Now, scientists used to drink that stuff
and
all the rest of it. But what they found is that, it was bad. And you'd know the science better than I was, Steve. And correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
But it was the combination of the Agent Orange with the fumes coming out of the plane that actually were combining to create just a hot mess of radioactive gene-altering compounds.
Very toxic, yeah.
So is this the same thing with the high fructose corn syrup? And if so, what should you absolutely avoid? No, you should avoid it anyway.
Yeah.
But what would make it worse? What would multiply? Like if you put cobalt on a nuclear bomb, don't ask me how I know this, by the way. If you have a nuclear bomb, right? And I'm not sure if it's an atom bomb or what have you, but I remember in science, apparently if you put a strip of cobalt around it, it increases the yield of the megatons like significantly.
Really?
Right, because it's chemical. It's all chemical. It's science, Steve. It's stuff your tiny little brain couldn't comprehend. But it's the same thing with this, right?
Yeah.
Because on its own, it's bad. But then if you have it with something else, it multiplies.
Yeah, real bad.
Right.
Okay. So the problem with this is, of course, let's say, it does everything to your body, metabolic, dopamine. Now, the way to make it worse if you have it with other dopamine-inducing foods, so foods that are addictive. So if you have this with like a bread or something like that.
Right. Beer?
Yeah, beer. Anything that changes brain chemicals. So let's say you go to a restaurant and you have a hamburger with
cola.
That's real addictive stuff.
Nobody ever does that.
No one ever does that. Or a pizza with all the bread base with Coke.
Wow. Or
when I say Coke, I mean any soft drink that's high in corn syrup.
Yep.
Which is most of them. The ones in Australia are flavoured slightly differently.
Okay.
They use sucrose, the normal sugar.
Yeah.
But it's broken down into two molecules, glucose and fructose.
Right.
So there's still fructose yield from sucrose.
Right.
Sucrose is what they call a disaccharide, a double saccharide. These are monosaccharides, which has got one sugar.
Okay.
So the one sugar ones are really, really bad.
Right.
But they're very sweet because they hit your receptors and cling on. That's what fructose does. So it's very sweet tasting. You need less of it. You don't have to, it's got a low GI and everything, but it's very bad for your liver. In fact, it's extremely bad for your liver. It causes liver cancer. And then we now know that from a recent 2021 study titled Fructose and the Liver. And it causes all sorts of terrible liver diseases. So if you have it with, if you have like cola and alcohol, then you're in trouble with your liver. Does anyone ever do that?
Man. Those mixes are huge, right?
Yeah.
So
it's scary,
what about
isn't it?
just straight fructose then? What about you having an apple or a strawberry, like a natural one?
Totally fine.
What's the difference?
It's dose dependent.
Right.
And the amount in fruit is tiny compared to a drink.
So therefore it's low fructose, and it's not from corn. So this whole high fructose corn was just a way to extract the fructose in a cheap way.
Just make it, you process it. Remember, they're not after achieving health here. They just want something very sweet.
Yeah.
So you can use slightly less of it. It's very cheap. So you can put as much as you want. It's about 20% sugar in a can of
cola.
So if you drink a can of cola, that's 300.
Cola. We should say cola.
Oh yeah.
If you drink cola.
If you drink a can of cola or a soft drink, it's got about 20% sugar. So if you have, I'm just going to round the figures, half litre, one of those large ones, then that's got, you times that by 2, so it's got 100 grams of sugar in it. Okay? So that's a fair bit of sugar. If you have an apple, and let's say it's 200 grams of apple, you're only going to get about 10 grams of fructose in there. And it's also got all fibers and all the other goodies, which mitigate the effect.
Cola.
Soft drink. So soft drink has no goodies in it.
Yep.
It's just all sugar.
Yep.
And you have that with alcohol, bad for your liver. Have that with bread-based things, bad for your addictions. So you're going to be in real trouble. Then you might have gluten with it, which upsets the gut. So let's say you have normal bread. And, these are sounding like normal foods, aren't they?
Sure.
Like it's not impossible for people to have soft drink and a pizza.
So what we're giving this one out of 10. Now, I know that this one doesn't sound great. You probably give them all 1. But in terms of the damage that it does, in terms of how widely it's used and the impact on people's health.
In Australia, it's about a 3.
Yeah, in America?
It's a 1. In America, Americans really use this stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they cop the worst of it. But it's dose dependent. So if you're going to have a little bit of this and, like a sip of
cola.
So, sorry, if you have a sip of soft drink, then you're not going to have too many problems at all.
Right.
So it's a 3.
Yeah.
But Americans 1 because they drink it like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. Next.
Yes. Okay. I've got one of your favourites here. Allura Red 129.
Okay. So another E number.
Yep.
So if you're turning over your packs, have a look
129.
129.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Allura Red.
Yeah, and I love the way they've
Allura.
Yeah. Allura Red. Yeah.
Red, R-E-D.
Yep, R-E-D, and it's got AC after that because that's just a code they use.
Okay.
All right, so I love this. A high consumption of this stuff has adverse effects on human health, including allergies, food intolerance, and then it escalates a little bit. Cancer, multiple sclerosis.
This guy's is just like, okay, that's not great. And then
ADHD, brain damage,
wow,
cardiac disease, asthma.
What is it and what is it found?
Oh, it's a synthetic colouring that's found throughout our food chain.
What
really
colour? Red?
It's the red one.
Another red?
It's another red one. Yeah, if you don't want the Beatles, you can have this one.
I don't want the Beatles, but I don't want this one either.
Well, you don't want anything red.
No. So this is would this also be in red cordial?
Yes.
This would be
in, this one's found in red cordial.
Is this more predominant in red cordial?
This is a really common one.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. And this is legal in the West?
Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely is.
And how carcinogenic is this compound?
Well, it just goes on. I haven't mentioned cancer yet, but it does actually lead to significant, quote, DNA in the mouse colon. Despite being highly prevalent in our diet, it's poorly understood how AR influences intestinal inflammation. So it mainly has caused bowel cancer and inflammation in rats.
Wow.
And they've just given it at the upper human level because you can't experiment on humans with this stuff. You're allowed to give it to them.
Well, you kind of are, and this is what they're doing now. They're like, look, we can't test it, but we're just kind of going to do a massive global experimentation and just see what happens.
Okay, so let's say you're having this every night and it causes mild inflammation in your gut. You feel a bit, funny, but nothing. If you do that night after night after night after night, if you drink the cordial or the drink, whatever it is,
chronic,
you're going to have chronic inflammation, and that leads to cancers.
Yep.
There's no ifs or buts about it.
Yep.
So that's probably, I'm going to say 2 because I can't say 1.
you can say 1, Steve. You can say 1. Okay, and it's pretty prevalent in the Australian society.
Very much
anything
so.
Red.
So red seems
red.
to be,
Let's get rid of red.
Let's get rid of red.
Like seriously, at the moment, I'm thinking red is like the devil's color, right?
It pretty much is.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
it is.
Next.
Okay, I've got the last one, the worst of them, and then I'll go on to the good ones.
Is this one that you promised us before?
Yeah.
Okay, we're cycling back around.
Yeah, this is number 249, 250, 251, and 252. It is extremely prevalent.
So this is your granddaddy of evil.
Granddaddy of them all.
Okay,
and
so this one could go into the negatives.
Oh, it will.
Okay.
Now these are the nitrate preservatives.
Nitrates. And look, we've done a lot of blogging. Steve, you've done some we've done some podcasts.
Yep.
Nitrates. So nitrates, what are nitrates?
Well, nitrates are cheaper than day rates. As I used to say to my kids.
So bad.
Nitrate, it depends on the type of nitrate and nitrite, which is NO2 or NO3.
So nitrites and nitrates, I mean, again, beetroot helps with production with nitric oxide and state dependence, right?
Yeah.
So again, not all oils are oils. Not all of these are the same as well too.
These are sodium nitrate and sodium nitrite.
So what is? I've heard of sodium nitrate before. Yep. What's that? Isn't it a fertilizer?
No, it's a potent antimicrobial agent.
Right.
Brilliant preservative.
Okay.
Which is kind of should send alarms off.
Yeah.
It kills bugs. You might be thinking, oh, so what?
Yep.
It kills bugs.
Yeah, but what bugs?
Well, usually the bugs found in meats.
Right.
So it preserves meats. All the preserved meats.
If you eat it, is it like having a antibiotic that's going to kill your own gut bugs as well.
That's half the problem,
Right.
But it gets worse than that.
gets worse.
And they've actually quantified this now. In other words, they've measured. Now, this is a 2022 study in August, and it just came out. And it's called, and the title gives this one away: Nitrates and Nitrites from Food Additives and Natural Sources and Cancer Risk.
Oh.
Results from a big study that they did.
Okay. And what's the abstract, Steve?
All right. Well, if you're a woman, it'll increase breast cancer by 24%.
24%.
Yeah.
So wow, nearly a quarter. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah. You're a bit scared, but what if you're a bloke? Prostate cancer?
I'm not scared of breast cancer. Well, actually, you know what? Men can get breast cancer.
Get breast cancer.
It's not very common, is it?
No.
No,
we don't have the anatomy for the cells differentiate that area. We do some, but not many. So who was famous that had breast cancer, bloke? It wasn't Tom Cruise, was it? It was Tom Cruise.
Cruise.
Okay. Can't remember that. But prostate cancer, which is one of the most, actually, it is the most common cancer in men.
Sure.
This increases it, wait for this, by 58%.
Wow, that's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah. That's
Like,
more than, yeah.
If 1 million Americans get prostate cancer a year, this will increase it to 1.5 million. Now, prostate cancer can be relatively benign as far as cancer go, or it can kill you.
Yep.
Go to the bones, kill you.
Yep.
One of my mates' fathers died of prostate cancer.
Yeah. So a lot of men don't actually go get it treated, or don't they just don't do anything about it.
No, and the drugs are terrible. The drugs are Lupron for the treatment of prostate. You might have heard of that one, have you?
No.
It's one that just knocks out all your hormones in your body. They give it to pedophiles, for example.
Chemical castration.
It's chemical castration, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So a drug that's, I won't go into this detail, but it's become popular in later years. Do you want to know? All right, do you want to ready to edit this out?
Yeah.
They're now giving it to children who want to transition sexes.
Okay.
That's the drug of choice. I don't know if that's allowed on camera, but it's true.
No, I think that's allowed.
No. Yeah. So it just knocks the chemical, it puts a pause on anything. Like you're going through.
Well, that's why they give it to pedophiles, because they put their paws on people, so they
exactly.
Yeah. They shouldn't.
They should get worse than that.
Yeah.
So
they should have their paws amputated.
Exactly. Anyway. And now, because this one is huge cancer risk and has been quantified, and we know how much it does it, and it's huge. That this is my worst one. This is what I think is the worst one, because of the super increased cancer risk. I mean, other side effects, allergies, all that sort of stuff, fine, but the cancer risks are huge.
So, what is this product used in, Steve? You
Things
said
like
meats,
preserved meats. So if you'll eat bacon or something like that.
Actually, you know what? And it's funny because Tony and I were just talking about this the other day. We were out for breakfast one time, and we never eat bacon anymore, which is so strange because I loved bacon.
I love bacon.
And Tony used to go specifically to find nitrate-free bacon.
Yeah, yep, good.
Which you can obviously get, right?
Yeah.
But when you're eating out, unless you're eating at some of these really small cafes that are kind of cool, you're getting plenty of nitrates in your bacon.
Absolutely.
But you can't. But if you're a bacon lover, don't get too upset, because you can get nitrate-free and ham as well too.
Yep. All that sort of preserved meat. So it's great for preserving meat, just bad for your
What
prostate.
else? Is it found in anything else that we eat, Steve?
Mainly preserved meats.
Mainly preserved meats.
Because it does actually keep meats.
So salamis and all that sort of stuff as
all
well
those
too?
sorts of things. Cabanas.
So just look out for
Nitrate-free.
nitrate-free.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so there's
that's your granddaddy. That's your, and what score out of?
Oh, that's negative infinity, because that's actually known to be a pure carcinogen in a very recent study, and they've quantified the numbers. So
Terrible for women, but absolutely
catastrophic.
Fatal for men.
Fatal for men.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrible. And they always say, "Oh, make sure you have it with vitamin C." And it's like, why do you have it in the first place?
Yeah.
It's like, it's just nasty. Just nasty.
All right.
Now, I've got some other numbers for you.
Okay. So we're moving into the more mid-range now?
Yeah, mid to good.
Mid to good.
Some of these are good.
All right.
Number 100, I'm trying to sinister, 162.
162. What's that one?
It's a red colour.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. No, I don't know it.
Beetroot.
Oh.
They use that as a colourant.
I was going to say, we use that.
Yeah.
I know it is beetroot, not 162. And this is the thing about, right, everyone's now on high alert that's listening to us about numbers. Numbers are bad.
Yeah.
Numbers are bad.
Yeah.
Well, beetroot, 162. Natural. Beetroot.
Yeah, I'd give that a 10. That's very good for your diet.
Yeah.
Antioxidant, all that sort of thing. But it's very rich in red. So they use it. Like we talked about those candies before, having some turmeric in it.
Yep.
That's a good colour. What about number 260?
So 160 and 260.
Oh, 162.
Oh, 162 and 260.
260.
Okay. No.
Vinegar.
Vinegar.
Acetic acid.
Really?
Yeah.
It's even acetic acid. You're like, ooh, this is acid.
Oh, no, it's very beneficial.
It's vinegar.
Vinegar. And it's also made in your gut. It's one of the 3 short-chain fatty acids.
Yep.
Very beneficial for you. Aids in weight loss because it sends satiety signal to your brain.
Yep.
Try to say that when you're drunk.
Satiety.
Satiety?
I don't know.
Yeah. Satiety signal.
Yeah, I like satiety.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. What about grapefruit with vinegar? What has grapefruit got? A naringenin.
Naringenin.
That'd be very bitter.
Oh, yeah.
But it would work.
Yeah, it would. And that you got to be careful with grapefruit taking drugs because it decreases or it slows down detoxification.
Yeah, improves the half-life, right?
Yeah.
So, or improve makes worse. I don't know.
So when you're taking a Viagra, it can help it last longer.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, the sound goes making notes over there on that.
I saw that.
Geez,
Saw
I
that.
don't know.
Yep.
All right. What about so acetic? That's a 10. That's something you should be seeking out in your diet.
Sure.
All
right. What else?
Here's a fiver.
Fiver.
Yeah, and it starts with 518. The number.
No.
A magnesium sulfate.
Okay. So again, people go, magnesium sulfate, or they see 518. So just inert, pretty much, Steve, or
Yeah,
what's the deal? Magnesium's good for you, but
it is, and some of it will be absorbed. This is not very well absorbed,
right?
So I wouldn't go.
So sulfate, yeah, and we spoke about that before. As far as your ideas of binders that they transport, it's pretty poor.
Yeah,
but it's not bad for you.
No, not bad for you at all.
No.
You put it in your bath, and that's what you're sitting.
But doesn't the sulfates break down into sulfuric acid?
Yeah, but that's fine. Sulfuric acid in the body in small amounts is non-toxic.
Okay.
Because if you have any sulfates in food, like garlic, it hits the acid of your stomach, and the acid is transported to the sulfate, forming H2SO4, which is sulfuric acid.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I guess what is your gut?
Chemistry.
What is your gut? Because if you've ever had surgery on your gut and all the rest of it, literally that stuff can melt through clothes, right?
Yeah, it can.
So
hydrochloric acid in your
hydrochloric acid. That's right.
And in the olden days, and this goes back to my old naturopathy days, everyone was worried about acid, how it's carcinogenic and all this sort of stuff.
No, they still talk about. Steve, I saw something the other day going, alkalize your body.
Oh no,
no, I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, acid.
Is that still going around?
Acid gives you cancer, and you've got to alkalize your body, and you got to have alkaline water, and because you don't want to. Yeah, I know, right? So, and this is so stupid. Right. I remember seeing this thing years ago. Actually, it's really popular on YouTube, and a guy went through and he used a litmus test paper to test different waters for how alkaline and how acidic they were.
Yeah.
And actually, I've got some good friends of mine who are huge believers in alkaline water. Now, Steve, let's just break this down because this is really important.
It's huge. I didn't know it was still out there.
Oh, mate, it's still there.
Okay.
Steve, people believe that if you're acidic, you're toxic and you're in a disease-ridden state.
Okay.
So they feel that having alkalizing compounds balances the pH of the body.
What part of the body? Because there's way different parts.
The body.
The body, okay.
When I saw this litmus test paper on the water, I actually took note that there was one, and Tony and I drink it all the time because it was actually on the slightly acid side. So we drink that.
Yeah.
Because that's probably going to be better for your gut. Because if your gut is a fire, you want to put you want to make sure that you put fire and you put wood and fuel into your fire. You don't want to throw water into the fire.
No, you don't want to neutralise it.
No.
The alkaline water is usually got carbonates in it. Okay. So like calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate. So
what's in your soda stream?
Oh, that's carboxylic acid.
So will that have so I remember
that'll
listening
drop
to
the
a
pH,
YouTube.
make it more acid.
It's funny. I was listening to an expert the other day on it, and he goes, one of the worst things, and I was just devastated, Steve, because I love carbonated water.
Yeah.
I don't drink artificial sweeteners. I don't drink soft drinks and that sort of stuff. But I like carbonated water.
Yeah.
But he said, really bad. And I said, Tony, I've only just learnt this.
Why did he say it was bad?
Because what he was saying is that it dropped the pH of the gut.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just drop the pH of the gut, makes it more acidic. Okay. Let's say I've got.
No, it raised the pH. Sorry, it made it more alkaline.
Oh,
so that's what he was saying. Wrong?
Yeah. No, I don't see how to raise the pH Because when you push carbon dioxide into water,
Yeah.
H2O plus CO2, sorry to get nerdy, forms H2CO3.
Yeah.
Okay, which is carboxylic acid.
Yeah.
So that drops the pH. That makes it more acidic.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of acid rain?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when rain falls through like carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, or usually in the worst form, sulfates in the atmosphere, and that forms acid rain. So sulfate and carbonates, acidify water. So using their logic about the acidic thing, if I squeeze lemon juice in my water in the morning,
and a lot of people do that,
which acidify the water.
Yeah, and a lot of people
citric
are doing
acid, acetic acid, ascorbic acid, they're all acids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good or bad?
Good.
So do you recommend having lemon in your water, Steve, from time to time?
Sure.
Got to wash the teeth.
Yeah.
Right?
The enamel on the teeth. But it shouldn't be a problem because you drink it, it goes into your stomach, which is full of what?
Acid.
Acid.
Yeah.
Very strong acid. So no matter what you drink, it's going to end up as acid anyway.
Yeah.
Because this is going to trump whatever you drink.
Yeah.
Now, you can fight against the natural acid in your stomach or not. And then you go, let's say you eat your fibre or you eat your apple, it goes into the gut and forms short-chain fatty alkalines or acids. Acids.
Which is so beneficial.
So beneficial. So I don't know how this causes cancer.
Butyrate.
Yeah. Let's get chemical. Butyric acid, propanoic acid, acetic acid.
Yep.
They're made from soluble fibre.
Yeah.
So unless
Apples are fantastic.
Yeah, unless apples are going to give you cancer.
No, the opposite.
Opposite. So we know that those plant things that form acids are protective against cancer. Yeah. So this whole acid alkaline thing is very, and if you measure your blood, it's always alkaline, 7.4 the pH.
Yeah. You know what it comes down to me? It's kind of like the whole cholesterol thing. Cholesterol bad, so therefore no. Same thing with acid bad. You don't want to be toxic, do you?
Yeah.
You know? It's
do you know whose fault this is?
Whose?
A Dr. Warburg in 1930. And he came up with a thing called the Warburg effect, which means he discovered that cancer cells only feed off sugar.
Yeah.
Now, if you took a sample of a cancer cell, inside a cancer cell, it's full of acid. Yeah. So everyone goes,
acid bad.
Acid bad. But here's the weird thing.
You eat acid, it actually makes you more alkaline.
In a roundabout way. But also, the acid inside the cancer cell is not representative of the alkaline environment that surrounds it, because it has to be acid. So it pumps out acid outside the body to make it more to keep the, because it's metabolizing sugars which produce acid, lactic acid. So it's trying to get the acid out of the body. If you flood acid in the body, it can't pump the acid out and the cancer cell dies.
So long story short, Steve, you should be consuming moderate amounts of acid, things that produce acid, like butyric acid and
so
what have you, things like apples and vegetables, and all these things are actually acid forming, which is good for the gut. And you should be avoiding things like sugar.
Yeah.
Which will feed your cancer cells. So
absolutely.
Don't worry about your water being neutral or slightly on. What would you recommend as being the perfect water to consume, Steve?
Just pure water, like the stuff we consume.
And what is the pH of just straight water?
6.4.
And
slightly acidic. Because carbon dioxide.
Slightly what?
Slightly acidic. It's
because nature knows.
It absorbs CO2 from the atmosphere a little bit.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like nature knows best.
It's exactly right. I mean, if you're having an antacid and drinking it, it's going to neutralise your stomach acid. You need stomach acid.
What happens with people that use a lot of antacid, Steve?
Oh, terrible.
Epidemic of disease.
Gastric cancers increase sixfold if you have long-term PPIs. Now, that's antacids.
And antacids are typically, anti-acid. So therefore, are they alkaline?
Yeah, well, they stop the production of acid in the stomach. So then
we're not going around throwing antacids into our water going, we're going to get so healthy because we're now becoming more alkaline, are we?
No, exactly right. And here's the weird thing. Making your blood slightly acid for a short amount of time is beneficial for it. I call it exercise.
And this is what lactic acid, and this is where the body then creates a response to that lactic acid as well too, which is create a little bit of damage, and then the body floods in with the antioxidants.
And the kidneys regulate it. You breathe off the carbon dioxide to get rid of the acid out. Your body regulates it. Yeah. It's a natural process. Exercise is good. Does exercise cause cancer?
No, the opposite.
Right, because if it did cause, because it certainly acidifies your body.
Yeah.
Have you ever feel it?
You're talking about free radical damage as well too. And again, this is where it's in collaboration with good diet, quality rest. Yep. It's funny. Anyway, so there you go. There's something, a bit of a bonus on the alkaline sort of stuff. So stop drinking alkaline water.
Well, you don't need to. I mean, if it's got those minerals in it, that's fine. They're good for you, but you don't need to.
Are the minerals alkaline?
Yeah, because they usually get water from a limestone, something, and limestone is calcium carbonate.
Yep.
which is alkaline, because carbonates, when they react with acid, form water and carbon dioxide.
So do you have a problem with carbonated water, Steve?
No, not at all. It's slightly acidic. It's just got more CO2 in it. CO2 is fine. Body can deal with CO2. We make CO2 all the time.
Yes, I know.
I've got a number for you. What about 440? Does that sound scary enough?
No.
No, it's
I'm
pectin.
Pectin?
Yes.
Which is good for you.
But I've got my favourite of all the additives that I would consume regularly.
Turmeric?
No, I didn't put that. I could have put that
Which
one. 1101.
That's a long number.
That's a long one.
1101, yeah. What is it?
Bromelain.
Bromelain,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
They put that in like, the meat seasoning. Yeah.
Yep.
They put it on meat seasoning. Do you know why?
Tenderize the meat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's a proteolytic enzyme, breaks down proteins.
Yeah.
So the meat becomes more tender.
Yep.
No, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you, bromelain, pineapple.
Yeah, I love it. I love
So
that.
they're the numbers. And
Okay.
we went off track a bit for the acid thing, but that was easy. I didn't know it was
Well,
still
I'm going to throw a couple of others for you as well
do
too,
it.
Steve-O. Because we've gone through a lot of these ones here.
Yep.
What about... I can't think. I think you've actually covered everything. Is there any other... Oh, we mentioned it before.
Yeah.
And again, scary words that are not. So think of a few that sound super, super scary.
Yeah.
And we mentioned, but they're actually not. Let's talk about titanium dioxide.
Oh, my God, I'm terrified.
You
Yeah.
take titanium, Steve. What? Are you a robot? Do you need to take titanium? Sorry, I'm trying to be melodramatic, you know? What happens when you take titanium? Where does titanium dioxide, because it sounds like it's made in a lab. It sounds very scary.
No, it's natural.
And where is it from and what does it do in the body?
It's made from cliffs over in Europe somewhere or other.
France.
And it's very, very... Where is it?
France.
Oh, France, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are the White Cliffs of Dover, are they all titanium dioxide? I don't know.
That
mate.
would actually, maybe you have a look at that.
it's
I almost guarantee you that they are the White Cliffs of Dover. Okay, but therefore, should you eat it? Because you don't drink oil, Steve, that comes out of the ground.
No, I don't. Funny enough.
But what does it do in the body?
It does extremely very little.
Right.
It doesn't get absorbed because the body doesn't need the mineral.
Right.
So the body doesn't absorb the mineral.
Yep.
And so the body's not set up to absorb it, so it literally goes straight through you.
But is it like a wrench? Does it cause free radical damage? Does it?
No evidence of any damage or anything it does. No
So
inflammation.
literally, it would almost be like eating sand. Almost.
Well, it is. Sand is silicon dioxide, which will pass through you. A bit of silicon's good for you if you absorb it.
Good for your hair, skin, nails.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
for scar tissue.
Yeah, all
Small
that.
amount, but the absorption is virtually non-existent.
Very,
So almost
very low.
passes through like a fibre. Chalk.
Chalk.
White
What's
Cliffs
it?
of Dover's
It's
chalk.
chalk. Oh, there
And
you
what's
go.
chalk, Steve?
Oh, it's usually calcium carbonate.
There you go.
Yeah. So calcium carbonate, you can eat that too.
Yep.
So it's a strong antacid. In fact, if you have, I won't mention any brand names.
Yeah.
But they have calcium carbonate in it.
Yep.
Because remember, any carbonate reacting with acid forms carbon dioxide and water. That's
So why would
burp.
you give somebody chalk, Steve? Is it the same as charcoal, sort of in the way that it works? How does it work?
Yeah, well, it works as an antacid for the stomach.
Yep.
So if you draw a chemical equation of CO3, if you can picture that, that's carbonate. So it could be calcium carbonate or magnesium carbonate.
Yep.
And you find these antacids. CO3 plus HCl will form calcium chloride, which is an inert mineral, plus carbon dioxide, plus H2O water.
Oh my gosh,
And
there's far so many pluses. And
I know. It basically turns your acid into a salt and a water.
And the only time you do that, why would you want to do that, Steve?
If you're getting heartburn.
Significant, yeah. And typically that's a reflux problem, and that's could be something with your duodenum and all that sort of stuff, right? You want to keep the acid in the gut, not coming back up. If the valve's not working properly, but then you've got a bigger problem to deal with. Yep.
You could have a hiatus hernia or something.
Not fun.
Not fun at all.
All right. Anything else, Steve, that sounds really scary but isn't? Because these are the sorts of things that we get. Oh my gosh! And people panic and they go, "Oh, this has got this in it."
I'm not adverse to the beetle colouring, except for the fact of the way they process it.
Sure.
So if you want to eat beetles,
I don't actually.
Oh, okay.
No.
But just what I'm scared of, and when I was talking downstairs with some of the, they go, "What? That's in
such
these
and such
particular candies and biscuits." They're written on the label. Then you've got to actually, they just were horrified. Oh, I don't want to eat beetles, everything. But someone down there took the biscuits that I bought in and they ate them. So
Oh, they hate them.
Yeah,
Maybe,
you know
what?
shit.
They'll pretend, until they've got this delicious tasting, bug in front of them covered in chocolate.
But informed choice. I know I'm not against people smoking, but they've just got to be informed. They know it
that's right.
kills them.
That's right.
They can't kid themselves.
Yep.
I only smoke. It doesn't do. It's like, no, don't kid yourself, but do it. Just be informed.
Look, and there's many, many, many more. Steve, as you said, we've mentioned probably about 10 or 12 of around 300 additives.
Oh,
and it's one of those things. I think you've got to do the research yourself, work out. I mean, like as I said, MSG, I'm not a fan of it. I have an acute reaction to it.
Yeah.
You might not, and that's probably the worst one when you don't actually have a reaction to it because it's doing you harm over time. So,
yes,
we've got some FAQs.
Let's do it.
Hi, team. Firstly, friggin' love your podcast. The only thing I'd like to change about them is that I would like to have 2 episodes per week so there'd be more to listen. Now, question. I was listening to your new podcast about saffron, which is very interesting. You spoke a lot about saffron being good for the brain. I'm curious why you didn't mention ADHD.
Sure. Look, the beautiful thing I love about this is they provided a study. I read the study.
Sure.
And they compared saffron. Now, the problem with saffron is very expensive.
Yeah.
And they use 30 milligrams.
Okay.
So that's quite a high dose in this particular study. And they compared it with the amphetamines that are normally given to kids.
Yes.
Okay. It's the standard treatment for ADHD.
Ritalin and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
And they found them to be equally as effective in a double-blind placebo-controlled trial.
Crazy. Look, I always believe there's an answer somewhere out there in nature. It might not be popular. It might not be widely spoken about, but that's really cool when you've got the scientific data to back it up.
Yep, exactly. So the question is, do you want to give your child, saffron or amphetamines? And that's treatment you can talk about with your doctor.
Yep. Okay. Yes. So good question.
Yeah.
And there is some research and information out there.
Yeah.
And I think the link there is with the PubMed study as well too. So you can actually have a look at yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
All right. I'm a little late to the game, but I just started listening to your podcast and loving it. I was just wondering if you guys maybe have already done one about training and the loss of periods in women. As a woman who is going through this, it would be super insightful to know the reason behind that.
Oh, the reasoning is simple. If somebody becomes very, very low in fat, they lose the ability to make cholesterol in their liver. We talked about in the podcast how you make cholesterol in your liver. Cholesterol is the building blocks to all your sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. Now, without them or enough of those, you can't make sex hormones and therefore you can't menstruate. You can't make enough progesterone to build the endometrium inside the uterus to bleed. So you basically, that's why you train so hard. You're so low in fat and low in fat in the body won't make hormones. And from a philosophical point of view, if somebody is that lean or training that hard, going through that sort of levels of stress, physical or otherwise, then the body will not want to fall pregnant during that time. So that's its braking mechanism there to stop the person falling pregnant or the woman falling pregnant.
So not that we know anything about this person, but as far as the level, Steve, that you'd consider to be in the healthy range. Now, I'm always mindful of this because everybody is different, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of what a good level of body fat would be for a man versus a woman, it's quite different.
It is. It's 10% difference. Now, I'm using figures, what they call bioimpedance, not skin caliper.
Yep.
So it should be about 15 for a man and about 25 for a woman.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It seems very high.
It does because bioimpedance measures the cell membranes, which is full of fat, of course. So even if you've got a muscle cell and it's pumping, it's still got fat lipped around it. So bioimpedance measures that. Skin calipers don't. So that's why skin calipers, people can say, I've got 3% body fat and all that. And it's like,
yeah, not really.
Calipers are good to measure changes in body fat, but it doesn't measure how much fat you've actually got. Right. There's 2 gold standards, bioimpedance and DEXA. And DEXA
is it water?
Oh, there's water submersion. Yeah, they don't use that anymore because DEXA and bioimpedance are so cheap and easy.
Okay.
Bioimpedance, so, you just put little things
electrodes,
on electrodes to your hand and into your feet, and it passes the current half through your body, which is representative of your whole body. You've got to remember, a skin caliper is only measuring here, here, and here, or whatever.
That's right.
It's like
based on an estimate.
Yeah, it's 3 tiny little bits like that. So it's crude, but it's good to measure changes. So if your calipers go from 3.2 mil down to 2.8 mil, you've lost fat.
And again, without getting into too much specifics here, Steve, because everybody's different. At what level could women start to lose their period?
Around 15% bioimpedance.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's as lean as some of the lean guys, which is, and again, obviously there's a chemical difference there.
Oh, absolutely. And women have a lot more fat than men, about 10% on average, because they've got breasts and they've got butts and they've got all that stuff.
Women are far lovelier than guys.
Of course they are.
Just saying. Well, that's what we've got time for
I know.
today, Steve-O.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Are you sure you don't want some?
No.
Okay.
They're not. They're candies. They're candies. Those hard-shelled candies.
Yeah, you don't want any of them?
No, thank you.
No. Okay.
Thanks, guys. We'll be back next week with some more.
See ya. Oh, jeez.
Cut that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Can't say
Bex-
that. Okay, cut that. All right, ready? I've got to.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, shake it off. Shake it up like a dog. Who said that? Shake it like a dog.
Don't know who said that.
Robin Williams.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of his movies. Anyway,